This woman is a prostitute. This is a regular prostitution stoop. The girls kind of hang out here. This guy shows up for work. Now, what if I want to know what they're talking about? Maybe I need to know her name. Maybe that there's some information here revolving around a runaway case, whatever it might be. They are under no obligation to tell me anything. These are two private citizens on private property, arguably having a private conversation. They don't have to tell me a darn thing as a private investigator. It'd be the same as if I walked into this business and said, hey, can you tell me the job sites your crews were on yesterday? If they say no, if they don't want to share that information, then that's it. We're done. The question is, what can you do when you hit a brick wall? When somebody absolutely refuses to give up information to you voluntarily. When that happens, you really only have, as near as I can tell, 4 options. And I'm going to share those with you today on how to get information when people will not volunteer it for you. I'm going to set aside the idea of more surveillance. Let's presume that the information you need, it's done and done. I could sit and watch that corner for weeks and not get what I really need. Let's presume the information is already over. So that leaves us, aside from surveillance, there are 4 possibilities. 1, you can do interviews. Now, this is where you're probably going to find out that they absolutely refuse to give you information, but it's a good starting point, right? If I'm working a case and I need to know the job sites that these people were on, maybe it's child custody, maybe it's, who knows what it is, I could just ask. If they absolutely refuse, I'm shut out. For this case here with the people in front, I could interview this guy and ask him, hey, do you know her name? Do you see her there regularly? If I need to find out who she is. He can absolutely refuse to talk to me. I could interview her. And she may not be willing to talk to me at all either. Even that third guy that comes up and unlocks the business, maybe he knows something, again, has seen her there plenty. So interviews are a good way to get proprietary information, but if you're absolutely shut down, where do you go next? For me, the next step, if I haven't already done it, a lot of times I'll try this first, is public records, because there's going to be a lot of information about that corner, about things that go on up and down that street. Let's say, for example, with police runs that are there. Again, this is a known prostitute. She's going to have a history in the system somewhere, and I might be able to find a public record that's going to be able to get me into the information that I need to know that way. Imagine that it is job site information that I need from this business, and they won't tell me what it is. Well, presumably, they're filing permits and requests for permits with the city or the county in order to do whatever building and work they need to do. If that's the case, public records request, I could easily go down and find and pull those permits and get the addresses that they were working at on the previous day, or at least that they were authorized to work at. Then I can use other methods, including maybe going to interview those neighbors in that area and see if that gets me the information I need. So aside from interviews, trying to get that information directly, when they absolutely shut you down, public records are a great resource. And please don't miss my public records course. Check it out. There's some free previews over there. It's a very valuable thing. If you're still not finding the information that you need, what's your next step? One thing you can do is pretext. Pretexting is posing as someone you're not, trying to get information that you wouldn't normally be given freely or voluntarily. So it's not my style at all, and I highly recommend you avoid doing this, but I could pose as a John and roll up and talk to this woman. That's one way I can get some information from her, get at least her street name, right? If I needed information about job sites or previous people that this company has worked for, I could call in or stop by posing as a potential customer and talk about, is this time of year, how many sites you got? Is this a problem with the rains and the mud? I could talk about ideas of references and testimonials. I could ask if I could stop by a job site and see how it's being worked or talk to a supervisor, those types of things. And because, again, in either one of those pretexts, and this is a key thing for pretext, what's in it for them? If she thinks she's going to get money, she's going to talk to me. If he thinks he's going to get money from me from hiring him to do construction, then he's more likely to talk to me as well, right? So a pretext, and there are a million pretexts that might work for these depending on what you need. Pretext might be another way to go to get information when you absolutely get shut down by people who won't volunteer it to you. Finally, it may just come down to getting a court order. If you're working a case that's in court or you anticipate going to court, then the attorneys that you're working for can file a subpoena and ask for the records that they need. And this will be up to a judge to authorize it, and it'll be up to them to release those records to you. But this is something that can be done when they absolutely refuse to talk to you. Now, it's very critical, and don't miss this. All four of these need to revolve around two solid pillars in your business. Whatever you're using, be it an interview, a pretext, whatever you're doing, public records, everything you do for this information has to be done legally and ethically. I presume you're working for a legitimate client. There will be a lot of people that call you who don't care if something is acquired illegally or unethically. But you need to stay in those two concentric circles to keep yourself very safe from a legal point of view. And let's face it, from a moral point of view, you have an obligation not to give information to a client who doesn't have a right to that information. If you can think of another method for gaining information when someone absolutely refuses to volunteer it to you, please do throw that into the conversation. I'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, this is Larry K with ShadowAnyone.com. Remember, do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing.